may have been raised in a Caribbean ghetto, but Shabba Ranks knew his love and talent for music would get him out and allow him to live the life of his dreams. Then, one day, in a matter of minutes, what he said during an interview would destroy everything he had worked for and leave his future very uncertain. Jamaican dancehall artist Rexton Ralston Fernando Gordon, professionally known as Shabba Ranks, was born in Sturgetown in the parish of St. Anne. In pursuit of better opportunities, his parents moved and ultimately settled in the capital city of Kingston when he was 8 years old. Shabba developed a passion for music at a young age and worked on his craft as much as he could. By the time he was in his early teens, he would have a defining experience that would change his life. His brother-in-law invited him to work as a bottle collector during an event featuring up-and-coming artist Josie Wales. Instead of doing his job, Shabba found himself glued to the stage watching Josie perform. He was overtaken by the magic of music. Soon, Shabba would devote himself entirely to the pursuit of his own career in music. As it turned out, he would have all the time in the world to focus after getting kicked out of his high school.
Cause me's a troublemaker still, you see?
Okay.
Yeah, man, me's a man, all who know me before being famous know me as a troublemaker.
Say a rude boy, Shabba.
No, me a rude boy, me a bad man.
Shabba confessed many years later that because of the mark that was placed on him as a young child in the ghetto, he never expected to live past the age of 18. He would actually have visions of death and nightmares of prison. It even became a reality for some of his friends. As his career evolved, he made it a point to speak to the younger generation, mainly the ones being raised in the same environment he was, and let them know that they're bigger than what little value another person chooses to place on them. Shabba, though, had a different mentality than a lot of his friends, and other people could see it as well, including Josie Wales. Josie came across Shabba one day hanging out with his friends, pulled him aside, and gave him some words of wisdom about the company he was keeping. He also invited Shabba to come to the recording studio he was going to the following day. At that point, Shabba had only ever seen the inside of a studio once. He was so excited about the experience, he couldn't sleep that night. The studio ended up being one of the biggest recording studios in the country at the time. Josie vouched for Shabba's talent to none other than super producer King Jammy. Jammy decided to take a chance on him and offered 16-year-old Shabba a job as a DJ. His original stage name was Co-Pilot, and it was under this name that he cut his first single, Heat Under Sufferer's Feet, in 1985. Soon after, he changed his name to Shabba Ranks. Shabba's debut album, Rappin' with the Ladies, was released in 1988 on a small independent label out of Queens, New York. He released several more albums on the same label over the next few years that many people outside of the Caribbean may not know very well, but one song in particular, called Dem Bow, off his second album titled Just Reality, would provide the foundation to a future popular music style. The rhythm used on the track became the defining characteristic of Puerto Rican reggaeton, earlier simply referred to as dembow. Shabba's ladies' man image, signature Gumby haircut, flowing suits, manicured eyebrows, and gold jewelry made him stand out from a visual angle, but it was his deep vocals alongside some trendy rhythms and catchy hooks that led to a major label deal in the US with Epic Records. His first project for his new label would be 1991's As Raw as Ever. It was his first album to be well received by critics as well as the public, and contained the hit singles Trailer Load of Girls and House Call, featuring British Jamaican reggae artist Maxi Priest. Shabba was also rewarded with his first Grammy for Best Reggae Album. The very next year, Shabba would do it all again, drop a very successful album, and have it win him another Grammy. 1992's Extra Naked also contained the popular songs Ting-a-Ling, Slow and Sexy featuring American R&B singer Johnny Gill, and the reggae fusion smash Mr. Loverman. This one in particular would go on to become his biggest hit outside of Jamaica. Fans of Shabba from the beginning of his career will recognize the song from his first album. It was a recut from a song initially released as Champion Lover on British Guyanese artist Deborah Glasgow's debut album. Sadly, Deborah passed away at the age of 29 after a battle with lymphoma, so Shabba decided to re-record the tune, this time with Chevelle Franklin as the featured singer. As high as Shabba was riding in his career that year, he would also experience a major low right at the end. In December, he did an interview that many would attribute to derailing his career and changing dancehall. During an appearance on British TV network Channel 4 music show The Word, he was asked to give his thoughts on the subject of the hit song Boom Bye Bye by fellow Jamaican dancehall artist Buju Banton. The song stirred up a lot of controversy and was already labeled as a hate song by the Gay and Lesbian Alliance Against Defamation, or GLAAD. Shabba co-signed Buju's sentiments in the song, saying if someone forfeits the word of God, they deserve crucifixion. He added that he lived by the concept of the good book, and it states that man should multiply, and that multiplication is done by a male and a female. He was condemned for his comments by presenter Mark Lamar. Those comments caused outrage around the world, and the fallout was swift and brutal. He was dropped from a Bobby Brown tour, and in the UK the following year, he was forced to pull out of a festival after press reports were released of police labeling him a troublemaker. Several months later, Shabba released the following statement. In retrospect, I now realize that the comments were a mistake because they advocated violence towards gay men and lesbians. I regret having made such statements. I do not approve of any act of violence against gay men and lesbians or any other human beings. Gay bashing is wrong. Unfortunately, the fallout wasn't just centered around Shabba. The entire genre of dancehall got caught up too. Many artists were having their shows canceled and getting dropped from their labels. Visas and work permits were also canceled, or not granted at all. Promoters weren't interested in working with certain artists unless there was a signed agreement in place barring them from performing certain songs. Not surprisingly, his next couple of albums only received average reviews, and the following year, Shabba was dropped from his label. Now seemed as good a time as any to take an indefinite hiatus, so Shabba did just that. He spent his time focused on his family and eventually moved from Jamaica to the US. Naturally, Shabba felt ready to take on the music world again after his children were much older. He released a comeback single of sorts with the track None of Them in April 2011. Shabba and his wife Michelle, whom he married in 1992, share 2 sons and continue to reside in New York City. In a 2012 interview with Jamaican Entertainment News and Current Affairs channel On Stage, Shabba spoke fondly of his relationship with his wife and sons. Host Winford Williams even commented how unusual it was for a dancehall artist to have maintained a long-term marriage, as well as have all his children with only one woman. Shabba gave all the praise to his parents and how they raised him. He grew up in a home where he saw his father come home every night to his mother and how he treated her, so he always wanted to have that same dynamic in his own family. Shabba made a return to his country after a decade away to participate in Sumfest, the largest music festival in Jamaica and the Caribbean, for their 20th anniversary celebration. Shabba's been very vocal about his disappointment with the evolution of the Jamaican dancehall music scene. He's well aware of how cutthroat and crabs in a barrel-like artists that have come up after him behave towards each other. He's also touched on why, despite urging from his fans, he hasn't put out much music over the years.
Because I cannot just release records just for free issues. I don't care what they say about this man.
Yeah.
Me no businessman. I am a businessman. And us from this part of the world treat our music like it's not business.
Yeah.
Where you do your song and you give it to a man and him go sell your music and him rich off of your music. I did that for too many years gone by. Now is the time where me must reap off of my music. If anybody within this world want to distribute some Shabba music, they have to cut Shabba a check.
In 2013, American TV channel BET asked Shabba to be part of their reggae and dancehall tribute scheduled to be included in their award show taking place that summer. Many other artists such as Don Penn, Shaka Demus and Pliers, Beanie Man, and Elephant Man made the trip to LA to bring the house down. Shabba, however, was nowhere to be found. He would later say that even though he did already have a prior engagement scheduled, he still inquired about how the event would be organized. He easily came to the decision to not perform after being told that he would have to share the stage with 4 or 5 other people at once and also not get the opportunity to walk the red carpet. It's always been important to Shabba to represent dancehall to the best of his abilities, and he felt that BET was taking that away from him. He also spoke about how it's always been BET's style to put the genre in a little corner and pull it out whenever they felt like it. Interestingly enough, fellow Jamaican dancehall artist Patra expressed similar feelings on why she also chose not to participate in the show. When asked about regrets, Shabba has said that he only has one: when doing business, putting his trust in people that he thought had his back, but were really setting him up to stab him in it. Shabba continues to write and record, even if no one else hears it, and his worldwide influence is undeniable, and he's always expressed love to those who've shown him love throughout his career, including American hip-hop artist A$AP Ferg for his 2013 track featuring A$AP Rocky, appropriately titled Shabba. He also made a cameo in the music video. Shabba has also received numerous honors, including the Order of Distinction in 2016, presented at the Governor General's house in Kingston, for his contribution to music, and the Heritage Award, recognizing outstanding and dedicated service by individuals and businesses to the Jamaican community from the Consulate General of Jamaica in New York City in 2021. Earlier this year, Shabba gave his mother, who passed away at the age of 81 in February, a heartfelt and passionate graveside speech that tugged at everyone's heartstrings. He proclaimed that she taught him to love God and how to strive to survive. She was also the one to encourage him to continue his pursuit of music when everyone else was telling him he would never make it. Shabba concluded with a mention of how his love for his mother set the precedence for him to love his wife. "My mother is my first girlfriend, so she taught me how to love my wife. People, I love you. God bless you all. Thank you for your support." Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and comment. And also, don't forget to subscribe and turn on your notifications so you won't miss any future videos. See you next time!